Hi everyone, hope you're doing well and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to share how I manage my finances because I used to be really good with looking after my money and budgeting whilst I was saving up for a house, but I've realised that since buying a house I've just kind of almost gone out of control and I'm spending way more than I used to. I need to rein things in for sure. I'm going to be sharing with you how I use sinking funds or virtual cash envelopes to really keep an eye on what I'm spending my money on. Hopefully this encourages you as well to incorporate a zero-based budgeting approach. I learnt this from Dave Ramsey. He talks about having a zero-based budget all the time and I think it's fantastic. So yeah, hopefully this is more of a motivator for you to encourage you to become more savvy and intentional with your money, and also just to track how much you're spending so that you can spend on the bigger, better things. I really hate having to spend money if I haven't planned for it. But what I find is that sinking funds means that you are kind of forecasting ahead. You are predicting what you may need to spend your money on and you're preparing for that in advance. It just makes me feel more in control of my money. And it makes me feel like, you know what, if someone says, let's go out to dinner next week, or if people at work decide to go out for drinks, I've already got money stashed away specifically for that purpose. And it just makes me feel like I can spend money without having to worry. And it makes me feel more in control of my finances. I use Monzo predominantly for my sinking funds. I also have quite a number of current accounts that I opened in my Barclays mobile banking app. That's because in Monzo, you have a limited number of pots you can actually have. So I have more than the maximum. So I essentially just opened up a few extra accounts in my Barclays account. So I use a mixture of Monzo and Barclays to, form my virtual cash envelopes or my sinking funds. And what I do is I've got pots for my personal money, and then I also have pots that I share with my husband, and we essentially put money into those pots each and every month, and I do the same with my own personal pots. I'm also going to be referring to my financial freedom spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet that I created maybe about 2-3 years ago for myself. It's essentially a budgeting spreadsheet that I use personally to help me be in more control over my finances. On this spreadsheet, I put in my income and all of my expenses, so all the pots that I'm going to explain in a little bit and how much I put into each of those pots. And this helps me to see whether I have enough money to put into each and every pot and how much exactly I can put into each of my sinking funds. So this helps me keep on track. As and when I get pay increases, I just adjust the amounts, and it just helps both me and my husband see how much we have coming in and where our money is going. So let me share with you the pots that I actually have in Monzo and how much I put into them each month. This is by no means a suggestion that you should be putting this amount of money away each month. Personal finances is that it's literally personal. So, you know, just do what you can do. I'm sharing what I do just to give you some insight into this way of budgeting and managing finances, but by no means am I saying you should do this. Yeah, it's personal. As you can see, I have a lot of pots here, a lot. So let me start off with the first. So we have a kids fund, a sinking pot for saving up for kids. I know that we probably will have kids at some point in the future, so I want to be prepared. I know kids are really expensive, so as soon as we got married, we created this pot and started putting money into it. I put at the moment £1,012 into my kids pot each month. Maternity pay may not cut it, who knows, so I'm just preparing in advance. Second pot is our pot for our parents. So we have a pot for being able to give to our parents. So because this is actually kind of like gifting, I won't share how much I put into that pot. We also have a date nights pot. So not that we really go on date nights, to be honest. Every relationship is different, but we have a pot set aside for if and when we do. I put away £15 into that pot each month. We also have a holiday pot, which is currently showing as 0 at the moment. That's because we've just literally booked 2 trips, one to Turkey and one to Portugal, so like the pot has been drained out. I do put £77 in that pot every month. Moving on to our food and toiletries pot, we both put money into that, but for me specifically, I put in £110. So far, I've been speaking about pots that both myself and my husband put money into each month, but now we're going to look at the pots that I've created for myself. So this is for my own spending. So I've got a pot for the dentist because we should be going to the dentist about twice a year. So I've worked out roughly how much that costs, and that means that each month I put in about £11 each month. The next pot that I have is for people's birthday gifts and for Christmas presents. Currently, I put in £5 a month into that pot. Of course, I have a pot for clothes, and that is actually showing as 0 balance at the moment. So there is nothing in there. I just feel like I've spent enough money on clothes this year. So that's why on my financial freedom spreadsheet, I've allocated myself 0. Like, I will not be putting any money in there for the rest of this year because I just don't need any more clothes. I also have a hair and makeup pot. So any cosmetics, makeup, you know, all of that, I have forecasted how much I kind of like should be spending each month to ensure that I'm not spending silly amounts. I put in £20 a month. I also have a natural cycles pot. Natural cycles is one of the subscriptions that I have that is for natural contraception. I put in £4.17 into that every month. I do have a link in my description box if you are interested in signing up to natural cycles, getting off hormonal contraception and just tracking your cycle naturally. So yeah, head over to the description box for the link. You'll get also a discount off your annual subscription and your thermometer free. Amazing. The next pot I personally have is my pot for commuting. So although I tend to work mostly from home, I do have to go into the office about once a week or once every 2 weeks. The train from where I live into central London is expensive. Like, it used to pain me every time I would get on that train, and they even raised the price last year. So I thought, you know what, create a pot for this so that each time I go to the train station, I will not be fuming and angry about how much it's costing me to get into central London. So I have my commuting pot, and into that each month I put in £182.40. So the next pot I have is for our boiler service stroke insurance. I personally choose to cover that cost, and I put in £21 every month. I also have a pot for charity giving. I have a couple ministries that I like giving to each month, and I also have a charity of choice that, you know, I really benefited from using a few years ago that I now like to give back to. I won't share how much I put into that pot because I feel like it's a bit personal. Moving swiftly on, I have a pot as well for books. Reading is one of my hobbies, and actually I set myself a goal at the beginning of this year to start reading a lot more. I also have a window cleaning sinking fund here. Again, because I know this is a cost that I will incur every single month, it just makes sense to put, or like to create, a sinking fund for this. So I put in £16 in that pot every month because that's how much our cleaner charges, and I just know that cost is covered. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to start searching around for money. It's in there. I have peace of mind. I also have a plumbing, draining and service charge pot in my Monzo. In total, I put in £33.56 each month. Again, these are just annual housing costs that you know you're going to incur, so why not create a pot so that you don't have to even think about paying for these things. And then the final pot that I have in my Monzo account is for property investing. I wish I could say that there is lots of money in this pot, but there is very, very little. I would not be able to invest in any properties with the amount that's currently in there. I know that this is something I want to do in the future, and therefore I'm preparing for it now. So that's why I have that pot, because one day I will be, by God's grace, buying an investment property, and and was saving up each month to get the ball rolling for that. So yeah, so those are the sinking funds or like saving pots that I have in my Monzo account. And then I'm going to very quickly go to my Barclays account and quickly explain the pots I have there. The first sinking fund I have is for investing. So last year I actually opened both a Vanguard account and a Hargreaves Lansdowne account, and I put money into that pot each month. I'm going to explain how much I invest each month and how much I set aside for it each month in a future video, because that is a whole video by itself, but just know that I have that as one of my pots. And then my very final pot is my Tramway Path pot or my Omaze pot. I enter property competitions, so competitions where you put in maybe £2 or small amounts, and you kind of like enter a raffle for a chance to win a property, a house or a flat. So I started entering these last year, and then I realized that, you know what, I'm entering these on a regular occasion, so why not create a pot for it? So that is why I created this pot, so that again it's not kind of like a surprise cost. I can plan for spending money in those areas. So that is why I have the pot. We have come to the end. I feel like, that was such a journey explaining each and every single sinking fund I have and why I have it. But I really do hope that you found this useful, and it kind of like motivates you to kind of like keep track more on what you're spending your money on and being more intentional about saving for certain things. Let me know if you've got any questions about this. Please subscribe, comment below, and like the video if you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.